Hello, and welcome back to the Math Together Canada YouTube channel. Today, we will be interviewing a very special guest, Houting Lee, who's currently a financial engineering student at Cornell. As for a quick introduction, he got his bachelor degrees in Math and CS from the CUHK, or the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and is currently working at PanAgora, a quantitative analysis firm in Boston. Furthermore, he previously did two crypto QR internships, as well as undergraduate research in computer vision. How about you then? Can you tell us a bit about yourself and maybe a fun memory from your math Olympiad days?
Yeah, of course. Uh, I was born in mainland China in the southern part, a city called Guilin, and then I went to Hong Kong for my college. I studied math and computer science in my bachelor degree in Chinese University of Hong Kong. And when I I found I'm super interested in the financial market, especially taking quantitative method to analyze the problem and trying to solve the problem. So that's why I did some internships in quantitative research, basically trying to find a method to overperform the market or finding your edge in the market. And financial market is especially complicated because it's noisy and you have a lot of competitors. So that's why these things are so fascinating. Just like in Math Olympiad, you are not only solving the problem, but you are also trying to overperform uh, maybe with your peers or something. So uh, to this extent, is somewhere similar to the financial market. And so that's why I want to pursue a further degree in the United States in financial engineering. Some part of the reason is I found it super interesting. And another bigger part of the reason is this industry and quantitative research and the financial market in United States. I would say it's more promising and have way more opportunities. So that's why I came here. Yeah, so that's basically about me. And if I have to recall a fun fact during my math Olympiad period, it should be in the high school. We do have a school team prepare for the examination. There are a lot of people, like maybe around 20 people, and we are staying in the same room. Uh, in the days, we skip all the classes just to get prepared for the Math Olympiad. A lot of people, we are like trying to solve the problem collectively. So I would say that's a very fun and good memory for me, and even harness my skills to solve very complicated problem until nowadays.
Oh, thank you. Do you agree? Let's like start from like the beginning. So like your math Olympiad days. Why do you choose to do math? It's like one of the most competitive like and hardest like subjects. What sparked your interest?
So first of all, in terms of whether it's the most competitive subject, it's worth a discussion. But from my point of view, maybe it is. And actually, for let's say informatics Olympiad is also very competitive and very hard. You cannot say which one is the hardest one because for different people, we have different specialities. Because, for example, for me, I feel like biology is especially hard because it's very hard to memorize these things. So I feel like I cannot say which one is the hardest or that's the only reason why I choose Math Olympiad. Uh, I feel like back in that day, I choose Math Olympiad is maybe over 90% is of my interest because I feel like solving the math problem uh, seems the most interesting to me compared to other subjects. So that's a very simple reason I choose this.
Do you agree that like future like high school students should all like choose based on their interest?
Uh, to some extent, I would say choose the things you'd love to do and of your interest is maybe the way to optimize your potential. Because if you choose something that you can easily be very successful, or if you choose something you feel very interested, uh, you will have a higher probability to do it easier than others,
Uh,
and you will be more devoted to this. So I feel like it's always a good thing to choose what you like.
uh, do you think like doing all this like math Olympiad stuff gave you like a big advantage over other people who are like doing stuff in your field, like quant?
Uh, I feel like in this industry, there are indeed a lot of people doing math Olympiads, but in this industry, there are also different job positions like researcher or trader. They actually require very different skill sets. So for math Olympiad, uh, it still depends on different type of problems. For some problem, you may came out a very simple way, uh, but it's actually very hard to came out or something. You can solve it in a very short period. And in terms of research, it's not like Math Olympiad because uh, it it doesn't actually give you a specific time frame to solve the problem. It gives you a lot of time, but the problem itself is actually very complicated, even require a few years to solve. So this problem is kind of regarded as research problem, and Math Olympiad problem actually don't require such research skills and maybe require your your brains to be smart or something to come out a way to solve the problem easily in a short period. So maybe as from my point of view, I feel like people doing Math Olympiad are more suitable for traders because traders have to use a lot of intuition and to have to solve the problem in a very short period. But as for researcher, you have plenty of time to think, to figure out the best way to solve the problem. So maybe that's the difference.
So am I right to conclude that like the different like subjects that like we are doing now, they kind of have like different skill sets and they lead to like different opportunities in the future?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. What's like something like that you remembered like fondly about your Math Olympiad days?
Uh, I actually has
You already
bring
mentioned this
about
thing.
something
Yeah.
like a lot of people in the same classroom. Uh, and maybe that is not something fun, but I should definitely recall is
Yeah.
I feel like Math Olympia is very challenging and I would say it's like very randomly because back in that days, uh, we can only have like four students to get a national Olympiad back in my province. And if you have a very small mistake or something, you can lose the chance. So that is very randomly. And actually, in the financial market, it's also very randomly. You can have a lot of uh, different things happened. For example, the market may crash in a very short period, or there is some news the market goes up a lot. Uh, that that different things is actually like when you face maybe challenges or you came out a problem uh very easily in the Math Olympiad. So maybe that can refer to different things in the market. So my advice is when facing this, just stay calm and uh maybe staying calm is the optimal solution.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I heard that the like math contest circuit in China was definitely pretty competitive and like you mentioned, even getting a single question wrong can like make the difference between making a national team or not. So yeah, especially in these math contests, the importance of staying calm and probably in the math markets as well, like working in a quant firm, is pretty important because just like being stressed about things or overly stressed is not very like beneficial. So moving on to your quant life. Starting with a basic question, why did you choose financial engineering rather than any other like field that may relate to math contests? Does it is it have something to do with um like the math contest to quant pipeline where like a lot of these math Olympiad students go into quant?
Actually, I know there should be a pipeline, but not in my school. Maybe in Stanford or MIT, there are indeed a lot of students doing Olympiad, especially MIT. I know a lot of students doing Olympiad. They will join the clubs or something in MIT. These clubs are for future quants, and these undergraduate students, they often apply to mostly quantitative traders, but some are quantitative researchers. In these clubs, they do have a lot of resources because when you apply to one company, you get interview questions or the assessment questions from this company. Then if you share with all the club members, people in MIT all have these kind of resources. So actually, I would say that's it's like a pipeline. If you do Olympia doing very good, you get into MIT, then join these clubs, then you will land a job in one of the conference. Uh, but as for me, actually back in my undergrad, I actually spent a lot of time doing research. So uh, my research is basically focused on computer science, computer vision, starting from a classification model, then to the generative model. So back in my undergraduate, actually I have two paths of interest to choose. One is doing research in computer science. Another one is to do quantitative financial industry. And mm, back in my it's freshman year or sophomore year, I don't recall, but at that time I have my account in the stock market and crypto market. At that time, the market is very promising and everybody makes money. But the next year, the inflation become higher in the United States. The market is not so good. So you cannot simply make money when you still holding the stocks or something. So at that time, I started to learn something in computer science, very basic coding or something. So I'm trying to formulate my problem first and trying to trade via coding. So that's the very basic and the approach in the beginning. When I learn something from the market, I start applying to internships in Hong Kong. And finally, I got a crypto QR internship. Uh, so that's the way I start to explore in this path. And then I learned something. I had the opportunity to do research with a very good professor in my school. So at that time, I keep doing research about computer science, and actually in my senior year, I applied to a lot of PhD programs, but due to due to some real life due to some real life circumstances, I don't have any chance to get into a very good PhD program. So I choose to stay in the Quant path. That's basically my journey. So if you ask me, why am I doing quantitative research or something, I would say, when you have different opportunities, you have different paths. Uh, Maybe the most important thing is not how you choose these paths. I feel like for me, the most important things are uh, which paths uh, I will be I will be pushed to, or which opportunities do I left. So maybe that's my question at the time.
Oh, so basically, the market was just looking very good when you start considering like quant and like crypto. So basically your crypto QR internships kind of like bridge the path between doing full-time research and then going into quantitative analysis, right?
Uh, Actually, I wouldn't say that because I feel like crypto QR internship is the bridge maybe uh, to the financial engineering industry. And at that time, doing the undergraduate research, maybe it's the bridge to the PhD programs. So there are two different paths
Oh, okay. So you just became a quant because
because
you
the
didn't
option
realize
I
you're gonna
left,
what?
because that's the option I left at the time.
Oh, because you couldn't get into a good PhD program, right?
Yes.
The electric content. Okay. So that makes sense. Do you think you could walk us through your work at PanAgra and like what kind of strategies did you like help design?
Yeah, of course. So I can have a brief introduction of Panagora. It is a hedge fund in Boston. like have a lot of asset under management. We have different people, quantitative researchers, trader in this firm is like slightly more than 130 people, I think. And we are basically doing like low frequency strategy. The strategies I worked on right now is like monthly basis, so it's quite different from any other hedge funds because I know a lot of firms they are doing mid frequency and maybe not so many doing high frequency. There are a lot of doing mid frequency and still a lot of doing low frequency, but they are not their only strategy. So for us, we are focused on low frequency strategy holding in a longer term period. And as for me, because when you're doing low frequency strategy, the real time market information is not so sensitive to your strategy, right? Uh, the information we are trying to dig in from is basically the fundamental information from some companies. For example, for Apple, for Google, this company, they have the earnings report from the company. They also have the annual report to they have to write the annual report and report it to a department belongs to the US government. So that's also a very useful information. And another things are there are some analysts at investment banks like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. They write and analysis reports of these companies. Uh, they are also very useful information. So they are typically textual data. We wanted to extra some other information than competing firms. Uh, when you have more features, uh, there is also a way to build a better strategy than others. Uh, so in a short sentence to conclude, we are trying to process textual data from companies and trying to beat competing firms.
Okay, so it seems like different quant firms are doing like different strategies.
Yes.
Um, why do you think that's so? Like, if they're all trying to beat the market and beat the competitors, then why are some firms doing like low frequency and others doing higher frequency trading?
Uh, can you like repeat your question again?
Okay, so why do you think these different quant firms are doing different strategies when they want to both like they all want to beat the market and beat their competitors? It's like why are some firms doing low frequency, for example,
Oh,
while
I got
others
you.
are
I
doing
got
high
you.
frequency? Yeah.
Um, that's actually a very great question, and actually maybe a little bit complicated. Uh, there is a term called the capacity of the strategy. That means your strategy can accommodate maybe 1 million US dollars. Other strategies can accommodate more, maybe 1 billion US dollars. Different strategies have different capacities. And usually for high frequency strategies, their capacity is really low. And usually for long-term short frequency strategy, low frequency strategies, their capacity is really high because you have to analyze the transaction costs, I would say. Um, so given a maybe larger amount of money, the transaction cost is definitely higher than maybe very little money. That's the reason leads to different capacity to different strategies. If you are trading very high frequency, but within very large amount of money, you do have a lot of money wasted in the transaction costs. So that's why high frequency strategies usually have maybe very, very low strategy capacity. Imagine if you are trading like every seconds, but for every trade you have to pay $1. That's a very huge amount, right? So that's the reason leads to different capacities.
Oh, so that's why like the quant firms don't just copy the strategies from each other, right? They can't because if they copy it, like the capacity is not enough for everyone.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm just curious. You know that like famous claim that like or like I'm not sure if it's proven, but that no trading strategy beats the S&P 500. So how did these quant firms beat the S&P 500 if that's true.
That's actually a very, very great question. Uh, so when you're trying to analyze the strategy's performance, actually we don't take S&P 500 into consideration. Give you a very simple example. S&P 500, you have annualized return rate maybe 30%, but you have the volatility also 30%. That means the strategy is volatile. The the return rate is maybe like this. And what does volatility usually mean? It usually means the risk because you only want your strategy to go up. You don't want it to go down, right? You don't want it to sometimes go up, sometimes go down. You want it to continuously go up, right? And a volatility introduces the possibility of going down. And a higher volatility usually means uh, it's more likely to be sometimes up, sometimes down. And you don't want your strategy to be very high volatility, right? That mean, if so, that means in some time you may lose a lot of money. And yeah, for that example, S&P 500 have the volatility like 30%. And now you have a strategy. You have the annualized return like 10%, but volatility only 1%. That means what? That means you can take the leverage to 3, then you got a strategy, annualized return of 30%, but volatility is 3%, right? And in that case, you achieved the same annualized return rate as S&P 500, but you got a lower volatility. That means you have lower risk to lose money, right? That means that strategy is definitely better than S&P 500. So that's a very simple example that you can not only look at the annualized return rate because you can use a lot of leverage. The thing we care about is actually your strategy's performance with proper adjustment to the volatility. And a fun fact is if you there is an indicator called Sharpe ratio, which is your return rate over volatility. If you look at the strategies from these hedge funds or quant firms, they actually uh, beating S&P 500 is the bottom line, and
Oh,
actually they are doing pretty well.
oh, so it's more about like minimizing like risk and maximizing like consistency and like gaining profits.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
You also talked about like earlier you talked about like some of the research you're doing, right? Yeah. So can you describe some of like the topic you're focusing and some of your findings?
Yes, of course. My first research project is about classification in different facial images. For example, you have boys, girls, men's, women's. Uh, you have to identify who is who. You have to classify into different categories. So traditional approach is to use the images directly. They are using deep learning neural networks to do the classification. But during my research, we propose a method that uses different angles and trying to use the 3D information. For a simple example, if you have my face right here, you
Yeah.
can take a picture from here, from here, from here. That's 3 different angles. Then we came out an algorithm that take the most useful information from these 3 angles, then consolidate to one uh, and then you have different information from different person. You can do the classification, and the experiment is surprisingly good. Uh, the result is can outperform the original benchmark a lot. And actually, the task is not the important thing. The thing is that we have proven that 3D information is really useful.
How do you come up with like the your proposal for like
Uh,
doing the
because that's my first research project, so the proposal is actually mostly suggested by my supervisor. But I think also from intuition, the just like in Math Olympiad, when you're trying to solve a problem, intuition is very important. And in this research also, typically people only use 2D information. If we can utilize more information, because we already have 3D information, we can get it very easy. If we can use this, uh, we certainly have maybe a high chance to outperform the benchmark. So why not try it? So that's from intuition.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe yeah, intuition is very important.
So if you're to do your own research, do you think like coming up with a novelty, is it more important to like use your like would you use your own intuition or would you like draw from like previous results?
Uh, what do you mean?
Like if you want to come up with like for example like a new model, would you like to come up with the things that you change? Is it more from your intuition or is it like looking at previous conclusions and like noticing like some features?
Oh, I feel like that's all very important because you still have to do a lot of literature review about previous works so that you can have a maybe more comprehensive view of the research in this field. And once you have a comprehensive view, you can know, oh, the latest trending method is like this, why people doing this instead of this, and you can analyze maybe the benefits and drawbacks of different methods. And once you have a good analysis, you will know what's the problem, and then you can use your intuition to solve the problem.
So am I right to say that like your like the solutions that you come up with for the problem are heavily like based off of the results from the lit review?
Uh, I feel like partially right because there are definitely something from the previous literature review, but the literature review usually don't actually tell you what's good in this method and what's not so good. You have to evaluate yourself. Uh, and I feel like the ability to evaluate different methods may be the key in the research.
Do you think like research is like hard to get into?
It can be hard because you have to know a lot of fundamental knowledge or something. But if you have a good mentor or supervisor, it could be easier.
So if you like want a good mentor or like supervisor, how do you find like those connections?
Oh, because I know definitely a lot of schools will provide this kind of opportunity. Back in my school, we had something called undergraduate research opportunities program. Uh, I think a lot of schools have, such as MIT, Stanford, they all have. Uh, it's like you apply to the program, and if you are successful, they will match you with your supervisor. And the supervisors willing to offer help. They are all very nice person, and usually will they usually will assume that you have little or no such experience. So that kind of program is actually designated for students who want to do research in the future. So they will have a very good training. They will prepare you with a lot of fundamental knowledges and uh, the basic methodology in research.
So am I right to say that like if you're like a new like aspiring like research, you can get like you can find a lot of resources from your uni and
Yes, you will definitely have.
okay. Do you think it's like enough?
Uh, yeah, I feel like it's a good introduction, but once you really get into this field, maybe more is uh depending on yourself.
So about your student experience, so you studied in Hong Kong, the United States. How are these experiences like as a student similar, and how are they different? Like in what ways did they shape your academic and personal journey and professional journey?
Uh, wait, do you mean the assembler?
What?
Do you mean the student assembler? Oh,
Yes, like basically your experiences as a student in Hong Kong, the US, and as the student.
oh, I gotcha. Uh, so I feel like in Hong Kong, they do have a quite different focus than it is at United States. In Hong Kong, a lot of professor will tell you study harder, get good command of the basic knowledge. It's actually like in the high school in mainland China, teachers always tell you. Um, you should have a good command of the fundamental knowledges. Otherwise, when you go to work, if you don't know this, if you don't know that, it's very hard to be successful. To this extent, I would very agree, especially in the quantitative industry. Imagine if you maybe lack of some very basic statistic knowledge, and you have to use it in the work every day. Um, it's actually quite to be outstanding if you miss this kind of uh, basic skills in this industry. But I feel like in United States, they maybe focus on more of your creativity or more focus on your interpersonal skills, which is, I think, also very important. So for a QR, you have to king out or you have to modify the current strategy. Uh, so that definitely requires a lot of creativity and uh, actually more of the research skills. And also, I feel like working in the industry, uh, interpersonal skills is maybe even more important than your technical skills because you have to interact with colleagues, coworkers every day. You have to deliver your work uh, in a simple way. You have to communicate with others. So I feel like when you get into conference, actually everyone is strong in technical skills. Otherwise, you cannot come here. But the way you outperform the others or the way to deliver your work in a good way is actually the way you communicate with other people. I feel like mm, that makes a difference.
Right. So different countries have like or different regions have like different focuses and like for example Hong Kong wants someone who's better at these like technical skills while the US also makes sure that you know how to communicate, right? Which is
Yeah.
Okay, so let's like summarize. What's like what are some tips that you would like give to like high scorers who are like passionate about like, for example, math, but like unsure where it can lead?
Uh, I feel like studying math can have a lot of different opportunities and you can have a lot of different passes in the future. So one of my advice might be uh it's actually very good if you have a very clear plan, then you will have something to be concentrated, to be devoted. That's actually a very good thing. If you are sure about the path you choose is actually what you love and want to do, like more than 10 years, 20 years in the future. But actually, I feel like for some people, maybe most of people, actually it's quite hard to find such things in the beginning. So you still have a lot of time. You are only a junior in the high school, right? So one of my advice might be try more when you are young. Uh, as long as you have chance, you can try maybe all the possible opportunities, then decide what's your what will be the path you choose. And if you can make the decision maybe earlier.
Uh,
Then you have more time to be concentrated.
uh. What do you think is like a habit that makes good people good and like differentiates them from like the rest of the people?
Uh, One thing I would say may be concentrated. For example, some people they already know they want to do research in the freshman year. Then, uh, in in the application season, they will be very strong, outperform their other peers because it's not just because they are smarter than other or something. It's basically because they have focused on this path for over 3 years. So if you can, if you choose A uh, as your path today and choose uh, B as your path next month, if you always do things like that, it's actually very hard to be success.
Mm.
So that's the power of concentration.
Yeah, so like speaking about like concentrate, like what do you think about the people who like do every single AP and do every single course? Like,
Uh,
Like what
Actually,
kind?
not recommended.
Uh,
I actually haven't taken any AP course because I'm doing 高考 in China.
oh yeah, but like
Uh,
like those
I
types of things.
know I know a lot of my classmates, they said actually during college application, as long as you have a proven ability to to study or something, let's say you get maybe some fives, that it should be enough. You don't have to take a lot of.
So like, do you agree with me that like it's better to have like that spike compared to like if everything else was like good but not like so good, right?
In different system, maybe different. I feel like back in my high school, you
Oh,
have to
oh
be
yeah,
good
because it was
in
like
all subjects because they are all tested.
yeah.
But as for you guys, maybe it's better to have a spike.
What do you think like makes for like people who are like happier, more successful in the future, long run?
Uh, I feel like that really depends. Their happiness, um, actually, for me, actually comes from a lot of different sources. For example, um, you have a good job that you really enjoy doing. Uh, you have good friends, good relationships. You have enough money, then that should be enough.
Okay. So it's really, is it really like more about like you, like and what you like, right?
All right, so there you have it. That was an interview with Houting Lee, who used to be a math contest kid, just like many of you are right now. And now he's working in a quantitative analysis firm. So I think the one key takeaway you could learn from this video, and I think we all learn, is that it's important to do things that you like doing, but it's also important to like do things like get good grades or like know how to talk to others. For example, because like in different nations or different regions, there are different expectations in a workplace. So um, and of course, there are many different paths that people can take. For example, he started off trying to apply to PhD programs, but due to circumstances, he ended up becoming a quant. So it really depends on where life takes you. Of course, I might not have as much experience doing all that quite yet, but yeah, I think this interview was very insightful. How about you guys? So yeah, I don't want to hold you like past the like time you booked the conference room for. So I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Thank you for
No
Sure.
worries, no
yeah.
worries. Good luck with your guys' college applications.
Oh,
Oh
thank you.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna need it.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
it,
See you
it's
at Stanford or MIT.
oh,
For sure, for sure.